Puzzle me this, Batman. Oh no. Check. Queen sacrifice. Snap. Check. Oh no. Rook takes or bishop takes? I'll take rook takes for 500, Bob. Oh my god, it was the wrong answer. How could it not work? Oh my god. I don't understand. There's some kind of bizarre defense, like bishop c6 or something. Oh, holy shit. Bishop takes as necessary? That's not so easy to calculate, actually, because of king f8. I don't believe it. So rook takes f7, bishop c6, and black survives? Holy shit, I can't believe I got this wrong. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this isn't so clear because black has king f8. There's no definitive finish for the game. That's crazy. So rook takes looks like lights out, but it's not because of bishop c6 miraculously saving the game for black. Wow. Immediately get it wrong. Nice analysis there. All right. Puzzles. I didn't want to do normal puzzles. I wanted to do Puzzle Street, but I clicked the wrong thing. All right, anyway. I wasn't warmed up for that one. Anyway, this is my analysis stream. If you're just joining us, we just started. Hopefully my volume is on, etc. Camera's on, stream is on. I am waiting till we get a few people, living viewers, preferably. But warming up with a couple easy puzzles. The hard one I got wrong. This is not hard. That's cute. Anyways, this is a cute puzzles are us. Cute and easy. Another cute, but it's cute puzzle day. Aesthetically pleasing puzzles. This is pretty basic. Okay. So, where's the mate? So this is just a queen e8, rook d7 kind of thing. Brute force. Knight, chicken or fish? Chicken or fish? Knight or bishop? Oh, if I take with the knight, I'm attacking the knight. So you take, I take, you take, I take. We're up 2 pawns in an endgame, or 1 pawn in an endgame, actually. Knight takes c2, bishop takes h4. That's not that convincing. That's 1 pawn up in an endgame. I mean, that's not, like, in my opinion, a winning puzzle solution. My opinion doesn't matter, apparently. So the old mate in 2. I'm just trying to wake up here because I have dementia. And so knight e3 check, bishop e4, followed by brutal checkmate. Do have to take that, huh? And this is a not obvious one. Rook e7, it looks like. There's a problem with rook e7, though. Black has the big problem. Black has king f8 there. That may not work. So I have to play rook b7. Very important move. Only rook b7 wins. There's also a problem with being very complex after rook b7, rook b1 check, king f2. Black has queen h4 check. What the hell? That can't be right. Then the answer can't be right. A rook b7. Rook b7. Rook b7. If it's not rook e7 because of king f8, and it's not rook b7 because of rook b1 check, then what the heck is the answer? Actually, yeah, rook e7, king f8 looks pretty ironclad. I could play rook e7, king f8, and then rook b7, but what difference would it make? Actually, rook b7 also possibly allows f6. No, that would be losing. Rook b7, rook b1 check, king f2, queen h4 is a serious problem. Queen h4, no good place to go, because he's going to trade queens there. No, that's out, man. I can't play rook b7. Should be easy. I'm missing something obvious here. I don't see the refutation to rook e7, king f8. What the heck? Queen f4 doesn't do anything. Yep. Eric the Red Panda. This puzzle though is really bothering me, man. I can't think of any other candidate moves besides rook b7 and rook e7. Rook b7 seems clearly refuted by rook b1 check, king f2, queen h4. This is a total disaster. Therefore, rook e7 is the only move. What other move is there? What other move is there? Queen f4 is a move, but it looks like it's easily parried by many moves, including queen e8. That's not it. I must be missing something really obvious here. I don't understand, bro. Wow. This is bizarre. Man. Rook e7, king f8. What difference does that make? I still have my rook. There's still rook b1 check, and there's still queen h4 check after that. That is still a huge problem. Usually when I get some kind of puzzle that drives me crazy like this, there's some stupid obvious move that I'm completely spacing on. Queen g3? What? Come on. You mean as a response to what are you talking about, queen g3? What about g3? What do you mean? Like a queen h4 check, g3? Queen takes h2 check. That's a shit show. Total disaster. Rook e7 I tried. Black has king f8. Man, I don't get it. Now I get it. Wait, I get it. Wait. There is something about this. There's a funny mate though. Like if you go rook e7 and black plays king f8, the cool thing about that position is rook e7, king f8, black is not threatening queen takes e7 because of queen h8 mate. So this is the answer, guys. This is a crazy ass puzzle. This is extremely difficult. Rook e7, king f8, queen f6, queen takes e7, queen h8 mate. That's the answer. Rook e7, king f8, and a super difficult move, queen f6. Not an easy puzzle puzzle at 20 puzzle streak. The answers are usually much easier. This is, I think, a very hard one. Fairly hard one at 20 in a puzzle streak. I never expected it to be that hard. Usually they're quite easy. Rook e7, king f8, queen f6, and there's no defense. Queen e7, queen h8 mate. It just dawned on me. Wow. See, it doesn't even try the best defense. That's why these puzzles are sort of dubious. They need to be like hand-picked or something. You know, they put them in and they're like they just spit out the computer move. But the real test here is finding king f8, queen f6. Most people are gonna miss that. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta step away. We'll be right back in like 4 minutes. Sorry, I had to step away for a little while there. There was something else I was thinking about this puzzle though. Instead of the alternative line, if I can go in, am I in analysis mode? No, I wanted to go into analysis mode. Dude, that's so annoying. We already did it, bro. You want me to finish the puzzle? Okay. There. Happy. But going back to this last puzzle. Can I go back to the last puzzle? Dude, this is so annoying. Forget it. So annoying. Is this the game? No, this is it. What is it doing? I want to go back to the last puzzle. I can't go back to the last puzzle. Whatever. I don't care. All right. Practicing always. I don't always get notifications when you send me a message for some reason. It may be a setting. That's why your game wasn't put in last time. I'm not going to do 2 games. Just to let you know, when you send people messages, it doesn't give me a notification. You're not chat blocked, but your messages don't trigger me to be notified that you sent me a message for some reason. It might be chat settings. So it wasn't my fault that I didn't see your game last time. Your game is in first. If you want to change the game, you can choose a different game. I've also got a position from, this is from Yavatis. I don't know why it didn't go in as the name of the game, but whatever. And this is King's Indian. All right. This is the classical game. First. What? Anyway, this is your game, I guess, that you sent in last week about the Alekhine. I mean, this is a game from Alekhine's Defense. And isn't that what you played against me in some online games? This is an interesting variation. So let's check this out. E4, knight f6, e5, knight d5, d4. No. White plays c4, knight b6, d4, d6, and now f4. So the 4 pawns attack is a really dangerous system, and it's principled. Of course, it's very easy for white to go astray because he's extending his pawns a lot. But stronger players, I think, have a good score with this system. I think it is quite good for white objectively. But now you played the experimental move here. I am a little bit mystified that there are 17 games with G5. Wow. But like no one really reliable there. It's a crazy move. Of course it's possible, G5. I mean, that's great for a blitz game. But, you know, trusting Drazic or something. I didn't think there was that many games with G5. It's a mouse slip. But anyway, G6, and now white is right to play knight C3, but also bishop E3 may be a move. You know, bishop E3 has some logic to it because you can't be attacked by like a knight coming to G4. You can't be attacked by knight coming to like H6 and F5. So bishop on E3 is basically pretty safe, and it also inhibits black from playing like C5 breaks. So I would think like this move actually makes quite a bit of sense. Unlike its counterpart, knight c3, it does not protect these squares, but I guess the question would be like, does that even matter? So I don't know if it matters either way, to be honest. It'll probably transpose. So knight c3, bishop g7, and now this is widely known as the best move for white, bishop e3, because you're not allowing any kind of pins and stuff with bishop g4. But now you didn't play the trendy move here, bishop e6. You played another move, pawn takes pawn, which I don't know about. So here white has a choice, of course, but I mean, it's similar. There's a relationship between the Alekhines defense and the Piarts, because I think, well, in particular, the whole concept of playing d6 and trying to undermine the white center with the d6 pawn, a lot of captures on e5. Um, but one possible drawback of this move is that white can take back symmetrically. So let's take a look at that for a second here. Pashti Aron lost the game in 2024, a kid I know. Cheparina beat Grudenberg Jr. And other than that, there's not much to see. An old Darcy Lima game against the 2300. That's about it. So there's actually very little practice here. I think that black could castle. We can see there's one game where black actually castled. Ricardo Smetan, who I believe he is an IM. He has a brother though that's like weaker. I'm not sure which is which. But this is a way for white to play in the Piarts in a lot of variations too. You know, it's not the most aggressive, but this is a much safer move for white than taking with the F pawn. He gets the symmetrical structure. If you trade, white has control of the open file with a rook. This is how Cheparinov played it. Pashtiaran lost, although I don't know how. Not so easy to lose with white here in the symmetrical structure. The other guy lost to Darcy Lima. I would imagine white is a tiny bit better. Let's see. Yeah. So white is seriously better here. This could be an issue. But it may be better not to trade queens. No, apparently castles is worse. Oh, castles allows c5. And this dude... Oh, it's Dobo Perenic. I know that guy too. He's a Croatian player, I believe. So he didn't find c5, white's best move here. So actually, this seems like a problem for you. Your opponent didn't understand, I guess. Well, I don't know. We'll see how good f takes e6 is, but the fact that Cheparina played this and you know, Pashtiaran, a couple good players. I mean, there's also Alois Lance game. He's another IM, like a good player, an old guy. And Dobo Pranic is an FM. I think they're all decent players, so they all know that this is a reasonable way for white to play. But the standard recapture is like, okay, the aggressive recapture, normally in the 4 pawns attack, taking with the F pawn. If this is a problem, you know, you need to play the other line. Because I got slaughtered when I like castled. This is really bad. You can't play this. This is unplayable. So the bishop e6 is being played for a reason. Yeah, you don't have to listen to me, but I know what I'm talking about. This is being played for a reason. And after bishop e6, white has a choice, of course, between d5 and Funny, there's one game with bishop d7, but it's low flare Stefan. He's like a amateur, more busy doing other stuff. I don't think he really studies chess seriously anymore. He organizes stuff and writes books, and I don't know what he does, but yeah, no, bishop d7 is no good. You got to go back to c8 here. This is the best. So taking is problematic because of d8. Your opponent plays f8 and you have c5, isolating this pawn on e5, but I don't know if it's good or not. If you castle, I mean, again, the c5 is coming in. Although, let's see. If you castle, white plays c5, no? Maybe it's not a problem because of knight d5 here. Knight d5 is okay here. Okay. So you can castle. You don't have to play this move c5 right away. This is not an issue because you're okay. But okay, your move is more aggressive. This is much more aggressive to play this move. The question is what happens after pawn takes pawn. Well, I mean, he could play e5, d5 too, which is what he did. But okay, he has two options, right? Like in the Grunfeld. Take or push. And interestingly enough, in both the games that this happened, white pushed. I mean, my instinct is that you should be okay after push because you're trading, like, you know, the c pawn for the e pawn. It's probably okay. But this, for me, is a bigger question, where we're talking about possible structural ramifications. You know, you have to calculate this. So there's only one game from 1998 where this happened. And maybe it's not so dangerous because white doesn't have that much development ultimately. He has to take knight f3 and castles. And check this out. There's a game from 1979, which is like a move order transposition. The Hungarian IM, who's actually a very famous theoretician. I never met him, but Hanfi Karoly, I think he's still alive as far as I know. In fact, I keep getting the random Facebook, suggestions, and Hanfi is like on there every week. But I don't think I really would even know him to look at. But anyway, he used to write a lot of articles for New in Chess and books. Well-known theoretician. So anyway, that's funny. A game from 1979 against Roman Tomaszewski, who I've never heard of. Clearly must be a Polish player from the 70s. That's interesting. So let's check the engine. Yeah, this is best. Best by test, as Bobby Fischer said. Takes. You know, there is one game here with queen takes c1, but again, the open file benefits white. So that's what happened in the other game. It's only better for white. Plus, there'd be like threats of that. Trading queens doesn't help black. It helps white. So this is correct. If takes, knight d7, e6, f takes e6, and let's see. So white has a bunch of choices, but for whatever reason, the best move is bishop e2. Probably a transposition. Castles, knight f3, and white is slightly better. So that's the Hanfi Tomaszewski game. Another game from 94 with Narciso as black, and another game from 98. Anyway, okay, so the conclusion is that this is like slightly better for white, but playable for black. It's not too bad. And d5 is a mistake, according to Stockfish. But I don't think it's obvious, you know, and I don't think this is like bad for white either. The computer thought it was like tiny bit better for black, according to the engine. But it's a little bit surprising. And you don't take the pawn. That's interesting here. Because I think like most players are naturally interested in taking this pawn back. You did not take the pawn on e5. mean, bishop takes c5. My main concern is like bishop d4 and bye bye dark square bishop. It looks like white, is probably much better. No, I mean, that's a very dangerous structure. Here, here, let's say, I don't know, yeah, he has this huge pawns on c4 and d5, and yeah, it's almost like a central majority. But yeah, his pawns are much easier to use quickly than your kingside majority. So d5, this is surprising. You castle, and then like a really subtle move, bishop e2. So white, well, presumably white is like concerned about knight f3, bishop g4, but I mean he could even take on c5. But if he takes on c5, you have knight d7. I mean, I would expect knight f3 or bishop takes c5, but again, here, this looks pretty strong. This is terrible. He probably has to play like bishop d4. But maybe he's better here, I don't know. See what the computer says. No, it's like better for black. I don't think it's that intuitive. I guess we're not really threatening anything. The computer thinks black is a lot better, but I mean, I wouldn't have thought that extreme. That's interesting. So he plays this, and you still don't take the pawn on e5. And everybody thought that black would play, I mean, knight d7 or bishop takes e5 here. No, unfortunately, you can't play e6. Okay, it's 30-30. It's pretty fast. Yeah, I mean, well, you're rolling the dice playing an opening like this in a fast time control for both sides. It makes the game, more risky. But I would be surprised. Knight a6, just defending the pawn on c5 looks like pretty strong. You also have ideas of bishop f5, knight b4, possibly. Probably that's not a big deal, though. I mean, it's rook c1. So he plays knight f3. You wait and you play bishop g4. And now you don't have anything fancy here for white. I mean, white doesn't have anything fancy here like you might see in some cases with knight to g5, for example. Knight to g5, a normal motive, takes, bishop takes e5, and does white have compensation for the sacrificed pawn, I would ask, and the answer is yes, he does, according to Sackfish. This is the problem with, let's say, playing this move here, your best move, but apparently this is not a true pin here, It's not like there's no bishop on e2. Of course, you also have to see motifs like knight d2. He could play a different way, but normally knight g5 because he has this forward knight. Takes, queen takes. It's not obvious, of course, that white has enough compensation. He's sacrificing a pawn here. Dude, this is like a four pawns attack Benoni type pawn sacrifice. White has to be, I think, quite an intuitive player to play this. Yeah, so I mean, I guess maybe it raises some questions about knight a6. I don't know what other options you have, though. Taking the pawn on e5. Let's see what the computer says. It likes knight d7. Okay. That's very interesting. So the engine prefers this. It's not afraid of e6. It defends c5 temporarily. It's similar to knight a6. It's counterintuitive because we're blocking our bishop, but we're kind of forcing things. We're threatening bishop takes e5, winning a central pawn. White would have to play knight f3 or e6, but e6 doesn't really look that good. You know, he's just too undeveloped to get away with this. So he has to play knight f3 anyway. Now knight e5, bishop e5, bishop c5, queen c7, and then bishop d4, as I mentioned earlier. You can take on h2 with chaos ensuing. That would be a really wild position, and also I would be afraid to play this way with black. So maybe there's another way to go about it. I think white has the initiative there. Knight a6 isn't a bad decision. I mean, it's hard to find knight g5 here. So he castles, and now you take on f3, and then I see, but I don't see what's happening here. I mean, white's obviously sacrificing the pawn, but I mean, we would expect rook takes. Bishop takes loses the c pawn. So he has to keep c4 protected. One has to assume that white is going to play rook takes, sacrificing the pawn on e5. Yeah, I mean, g takes looks bad. He must have, you know, assumed he has some kind of f4, f5. Maybe it's not a terrible decision, actually. I think you have to take the pawn. He has f4. You go back. I don't see any reason to play the bishop to a different square. Here, you're vulnerable to knight e4. There's no reason to go to h8. It's not the Grunfeld where we like put our bishop on c7 or something. So this is forced. And then f5. But keep in mind that white still hasn't really completed development either. So your knight on a6 is bad. This wants to come back, but you've got c5 to worry about. You know, we'd really like to play knight c7, knight e8, get the knight back in the game. You could sacrifice the pawn on c5 maybe. You know, like this is not out of the question. Say that knight on a6 is very bad. So f5, I don't know what to do, to be honest. Queen d7 doesn't look good. This position is not easy for you to play. You know, e6 is, the white squares are bad. You know, you can't afford to lose the light squares. The light square bishop will become a terror on the board. So I don't know what I would play here with black. Rook c8 comes to mind. And as I said, maybe I would get the pawn back with knight c7. Let's see. That's funny. The computer doesn't even play bishop takes c5. Now it does. It changed its mind. So let's see what the best move is for black. Wow, it's close. It's close. e6 is actually a consideration. Oh my god. Yeah, e6 is so dangerous looking with the white squares. You actually played the engine's #1 move, knight c8. Your Google glasses. No, this is a nice move. You've got knight f5 control, knight d6. Yeah, it's a good move. Very good move. Queen d2, knight d6, and now he trades. You know, the thing is, maybe he has some sort of exchange sacrifices in some positions, so white doesn't really want to play pawn takes pawn. And I'm wondering if he doesn't have, like, knight takes f5, rook takes f5 in some variations. So my question would be, could white possibly play something like bishop h6, right? You can't take on f5 because of rook takes f5. or can you? Because of bishop h6, queen h6, pawn takes f5. Are you getting mated? And I think you are close to getting mated, but you're not getting mated, right? Because it's your turn and you have all sorts of defenses. Never mind. Oh, it's his turn, but you still have a million defenses. Yeah, you're winning. Okay. It doesn't work, but it's close. So anyway, I don't like this for white. It's a concession. And one thing you could do here is, well, obviously taking with the f pawn is even a consideration, but what I'm thinking is that, you very well might sacrifice an exchange at some point. You could easily give up your rook on f8 for the dark square bishop and have like a pawn for the exchange with a lot of play. Yeah, f takes g6 looks like a mistake. And I don't know what to do for white, but perhaps some sort of rook lift. Rook f4, rook h, rook f3. Maybe even h4. I mean, is this unrealistic? Probably. Rook f3 is the top 3 move. King h1 is okay, apparently, but we're not going to be using the h pawn. And now b6. B6 looks way too slow. I understand you want to move your knight, but I just don't think we really have time for such moves. I want to consolidate. Maybe queen d7 and something developing, this develops. e6 is out of the question, but if we play queen d7, maybe we could play e6 or even e5. e5 would be an interesting blockading plan. I mean, queen d7 could backfire if he does like rook g1 and he can play bishop g4. I don't know, But this move looks slow and it weakens your white squares. Rook ae1. I hate rook ae1. I hate this move. I mean, I don't know what his best move is, but it looks kind of slow. It seems like he should be aiming for the G file. Or doubling his rooks, but not rook ae1. King h1 followed by... I mean, just somebody explain to me, how does it make sense to play king h1 followed by rook ae1? They don't seem to be like linked in any way. They're like two completely different plans. So rook ae1. Now, slow but turtle style, knight c7. Yeah, so this guy is just very obvious. That's a good move, but bro, you have breaks now. I think that e5 also can be considered. But let's, like, for example, consider e6, bishop g5, what happened in the game. I would be concerned about bishop g5, but... And f6 is super dangerous. But, I mean, okay, so queen d7. You need to see this before you play it. But let's consider the other possibility of going here. Because that's very concrete. This pawn would stay forever, but you would also gain a little more security in the center. And I mean, the point is like bishop g5 can be met by f6 now. I'm not sure, but very different game after e5. After this move, okay, bishop g5, you have queen d7 clearly. Now white's going to need to be very creative to make this work. Bishop f6. I wasn't even thinking about rook f6, honestly, but that's fantasy, This is total fantasy. I just don't think this is going to work, bishop f6. It's too slow. So what's that? Nice name. Welcome everybody. Thanks for being subscribers. All one of you. We should really activate subscriber chat only. Queen d7. White to move. Rook f6. I mean, for that matter, I'm not really convinced about bishop g5. I mean, this is an obvious move, but I'm not sure. What does this do? You know, what does it do? He's going to end up like trading his bishop with bishop g5, bishop f6. I mean, you might as well just go bishop h6. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're achieving the same thing, except you're like wasting a move to do it. You're playing bishop g5, bishop f6 versus just bishop h6 directly. Why is that better? You know, I feel like this is just a case of like white not really thinking ahead. You know, he plays bishop g5, wait and see what you do, hopes you blunder with f6, and then, you know, when you don't blunder with f6, allowing this, he, you know, he's like, oh, okay, well, I guess now I'll just do like bishop f6. But I mean, big deal. You know, he's not threatening anything. Not direct. I think that black is better, almost winning here. You played like perfectly this part of the game. So huge mistake probably by bishop g5. Apparently he can take on e6, and white is slightly better. Even though you're up a pawn, his bishops are active. I don't know. I mean, his pieces are active, okay, fine. I still would prefer to be black, but maybe I'm greedy, you know? I don't know. Pawn takes, knight takes e6. He has this. His bishops look good, but still, pawn is a pawn. I'm a little skeptical. So this is weak. Now you could take on d5, but white has rook e7. So you don't really want to take on f6, bringing his rook up. So you had to play this. This is good. Best move. And now, very straightforward and kind of primitive queen g5. But I'm thinking like white is borderline lost here, unless he has some kind of crazy bishop takes g6 sacrifice. So now he's starting bishop takes g7, king takes g7, queen f6 check. That is annoying. Oh my god. So pawn takes d5, bishop g7, king g7, queen f6 check. That's the game. Man, this is really making me feel like, what if we had, well, I guess if we had, take back the last one for a second. Let me just consider here the options. Would you have any other option? I mean, this is ridiculous, right? These knight moves are ridiculous. Taking isn't good. It doesn't feel like you have any other options. You can't allow this. Can you? Takes rook e7. But wait a second. Maybe you could. What if you can hang this knight on c7 with some sort of tactic? You have, you know, is there anything here? Queen g4, queen h3. There doesn't seem to be anything there. He just eats your pawn. I mean, knight, whatever it is. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't see anything better. But this is fairly obvious what's going on now. He's going to take. He's got an iron grip on f6. Check. And, well, you've got lateral defense here. So I've got to ask the obvious question, because that's my job. What about king g8? I mean, you're gonna trade rooks. That's the first priority, trading pieces here. Trade as many pieces as you can, as fast as you can, and you won't have any attack. Why not king g8? So you think it's better to play king h7 first, induce some queen h4 check or something, and then go back to g8? I mean, if you want to draw, you can draw with a king h7, queen f6 check, but I'm trying to win. But I thought here, I don't know why. Like, is this seriously a threat? Because I don't believe it. Wow, it's a draw. That is shocking. This is a draw, apparently. Surprising. It's very surprising. Let's see how this would work. Rook takes e1. Rook takes e1. And if you take on g6, you're losing. Oh my god. Here, 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 here. You're up a pawn. No, you're not. Now it's even pawns. All right, that makes sense. So bishop takes g6, rook e1, rook e1, and now you have to play this. Wow. I wouldn't say your strong point is like calculation either. I think your opponent though is Mr. like puzzle tactics based on the way he plays. Queen f6 check. King h6 is a draw. King g8 is a draw. King h7 is losing. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe I didn't see rook f4, but my instinct told me not to put the king on h7. That's the craziest thing ever, though. King h6 isn't losing, but king h7 is. Why does it matter? Why would it matter? Wouldn't the same thing work here? This is crazy. This is so crazy. Like rook f4, rook takes e1 check, king g2, and now you have this. This is the point. This is the point. That's insane. Rook e5 is the point. That's why, because if your king is on h7, he's winning anyway with rook h4 check no matter what. But now you have rook h5 like blocking the check. So check here, and you don't get mated here. This is incredible. That's just incredible. Okay. Well, that's the computer's explanation anyway. But I would not put my king on, I'm not putting my king on h7. I'm going here and I'm allowing this, and excuse me. I'm just, like hyperventilating or something. In time pressure, I probably would have blundered, captured here, and like gone into this. I would have taken on e1, rook e1, and freaked out and played like this and probably gone on to lose the game after queen g7, queen takes d6. Can you defend this position, by the way? With your king open on the g file, is it possible that black can survive here? I mean, he's threatening rook g1, that's the problem. But maybe you have perpetual checks and stuff too. You could play something like queen f7. I would think like queen f7 might survive. Queen f7 isn't enough. Your best move is rook f6. This is like would have happened to me in a blitz game, probably. But amazingly, you're not like, okay, you can use this guy, but not knight c, because you need that to protect d5. You have to do the other knight to go here. So bishop h7 check, king h7. Incredible line. Queen h4 check, king g8, rook g1 check, knight g7, and then perpetual. He has to force the perpetual, otherwise you're winning. Very cute tactics in this game, but this is a dangerous move. It's lucky the opponent didn't find rook f4. Seems like he's the kind of player that would find that. Rook e8. This helps you a little bit, and then you did the wrong knight recapture because this knight is key in protecting d5. Although this seems more natural. This is important, I think. You have to do it this way. But yeah, you never should have put your king on h7. Bishop takes g6, check, king g8. And now, it's similar to the other line. He has it again, right? Bishop h7, check. This should be a draw. Bishop h7 is a draw. But he's winning with a weird move here. He doesn't find it. I mean, almost no one would find this move. There's some very subtle idea here. Queen f3. Queen f3, not queen f4. He played queen f4. Queen f3 is winning. Queen f3 is winning. Queen f4 is a draw. That is crazy. Because he gets attacked by your knight or something? Yeah. Queen f2 is not as good either, which I don't really understand. Queen f2, knight g7. Just queen f3 is winning. But it's like some kind of long-term thing. Okay, I mean he's just better in the middle game. It's almost still a middle game. He doesn't find it. He plays queen f4, giving you a tempo with knight e6. This is key. And now he takes the draw with bishop h7 check. His only winning attempt, it's not a winning attempt. It's like bishop f5, knight takes f4. So he lost his chance to win because of queen f4. And now he has to take a draw. Check, king takes, queen check, king g8, knight takes d5, threatening knight e7 check. This is still super scary. I mean, for both sides. But it is a draw, apparently. Check, king f7, check. And I don't think queen f4 was played in the game. I'm going to guess queen f4 was not a move. Yeah. Well, that was certainly an exciting game. But I would be reluctant to play this type of line against a very strong tactical player. But in the Alekhine's defense, there is no solid way to play the black side of the 4 pawns attack. I mean, the main line is the safest, probably. Okay, anyway, that was an exciting game. Sung Prism has sent us a game. Sung Prism, were you gift subbed yesterday? Did someone gift a gift sub to Sung Prism yesterday? Oh, I hate when that happens. Don't send gift subs to paying customers. All right, here, add a new chapter. Sung Prism. Do we have any other viewers? Just King's Indian Defense? My only viewer is King's Indian Defense. This is crazy. Where's Irina Crush? She was here last week. We analyzed one of her games. Irina, where are you? So, where is everybody? Where's my friends? I don't have any friends. He accepts a draw. Well, no, I mean, it was a draw at that point. It should have been a draw. But I'm not sure, that type of opening is good for your style. You're playing, your repertoire doesn't make sense. You're playing the Slav defense and the Alekhine. You need to think about that. I don't think that's really a good idea. You're not. I'm not sure you're stylistically set right for this. The good thing about the Alekhine is that you have a lot of tricks and stuff, and you can maybe remember a lot of theory. But you're gonna get some positions like that, which are very scary. All right. So this is I'll go to this game directly since Sung Prism is apparently here, and apparently a subscriber, against his will. Sung Prism has been subscribed. Sung Prism with white. So he's not a big talker. Sung Prism not big on the communication. side of things. But we have noticed this radical opening repertoire change for Sun Prism, who was always playing e4, and suddenly it's knight f3, c4. So major, and a lot of g3, knight f3, c4. Dramatic opening repertoire change from e4. Knight f3, and now one of my favorite moves, d6. So d6 is, I always liked it. It makes sense if you're a Sicilian player, because you got, e4, c5 transposition. It makes sense if you play the King's Indian because of d4, knight f6, and g6, etc. So this move really depends on black's repertoire. Only certain players can play it. It works for my repertoire, not for everyone. I mean, obviously white has every option available here. You play g3, and I think I had a whole bunch of games with our old friend Acerbate with this move order for a little while, although he was playing b3 as well. So e5, this seems, principled, right? The most principled move for black. And you're like, well, okay, what is this now? Theoretically. What is this opening? Almost makes you think. Well, it could be a lot of things. It could be an English. It could be a King's Indian attack. If black is white and white is black, it could be a closed sort of Pearts. It could be a weird sort of, still a Pearts, Philidor, where white played like g3. So bishop g2, this is fine. e4 is not a threat so much here, although it is playable. We shouldn't dismiss e4 out of hand just because black played d6. This is still a move. But this pawn is not supported by the other pawns, so I think this would transpose to a pure Alekhine with colors reversed. Because black's going to need to lose a tempo, most likely by playing d6, d5 in 2 moves. So most people aren't going to play that. You can be fairly confident. And by the way, like, this is an option too, to play a Brooklyn because of the pawn not being supported. But whatever. All right. So anyways, black's typical move here is like f5, f5, g6, knight f6, maybe even c5, knight c6. They're all possible. Some maniacs played this. Andrei Sokolov's. So I'm a little bit confused by Andrei Sokolov's. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Who the hell is Andrei Sokolov's? There was the very famous World Championship candidate, Andrei Sokolov, who still, for years, has lived in France. He's very inactive, well, relatively inactive. He would not have been rated 2435 in 1992. There must be some Latvian, Russian, other Andrei Sokolov. But there's Agrest guy, also a very strong player. G5, that's pretty creative. I don't believe it, but for fun. All right, so black plays knight f6, and now c4. So we transpose to an English. Mostly you're going to see g6 here, I would think, from any kind of good players. Maybe knight on bd7 first. So now it's like the English against the King's Indian, very standard. But your opponent plays a bad move now. I guess the only question is, like, how bad is it? Notice it's not making the database. Bishop e7, Simon Williams videos. C6, By the way, the old Indian is not better than the King's Indian. So despite whatever video Sion Williams has made, if you're gonna go bishop e7 or g6 and bishop g7, it's better to go bishop g7. Your pieces have more room to move around. They're not tripping over each other. The old Indian is not superior to the King's Indian. In this case, your pieces actually conflict with one another. So, despite the fact that that's the number one move for black here, it shouldn't be. I mean, for sure, like g6 is a better move. Mihai Suba Fedorovich, 1987, probably New York Open. Anyways, the very strange bishop e6. Now, this you see sometimes in the sort of closed Sicilian, but notice that black's knight is not on c6 yet. b7 is not protected, so he's like tempting you to play knight g5 here. The problem is if you play knight g5, what's your follow-up? After knight g5, bishop c8. Any other move is bad. I mean, I don't think that black can sack the exchange. Bishop takes c4. Bishop takes a8. Sorry, your other 8, b7. Yeah, okay. I mean, maybe this is an insane way to play. Okay, let's see. Just for fun. Knight g5, bishop c4, bishop b7, knight d7, bishop a8, queen a8. I accept this is like playable in a crazy blitz game or something like that. But the bigger question is like, what if he just goes back, right? Maybe you can make it work somehow. But on the other hand, he might just get h6 for free. So it's probably not worth it. This threat, we have to keep in mind we have queen a4 check. He has b5, but knight c3 is probably acid test. Rather than committing to this routine sort of move, which is fine for sure, there's nothing wrong with b3. I'm sure that it's absolutely fine, but I feel like this is better if we value, flexibility. Again, I mean, d3 is also inflexible. You might want to go d4, so d3 is necessarily less fluid. This is the move you want to play. It's just that on this, queen a4 check, b5, knight takes b5, and white is winning, or just clearly better. He has to play bishop b5, takes c6, and it's a terrible position for black. So, I like knight c3 better. You probably have to calculate more. Like c6. Yeah, here's the question. There's a bunch of games. White has a very good score. Does he have something better than c6? Well, there's this. So check this out. Portish, 1978 with white. Gulko from 01. Chicago Open 2001. I might have lost to Gulko. Well, I played Gulko around the same time. I think it was even earlier, though. That could have been World Open, actually. It's July. So I played Gulko in like 2000 or 99. But I wonder what those guys did, what Gulko did, and what Portish did. Portish drew. He played b3. But Boris played d4. Boris, of course, with a winning score against Garry Kasparov, very famously. d4 against Nagel. See, this is the point. We're uncompromising chess. Gulko, a very good English opening player. Well, very good all-around player. But we're not compromising. We're playing the most decisive move every time. That's why we're not playing d3. tactics and swindles. Isn't d3 rook b1 b4 setup harmonious with the fianchetto of bishop than b3 bishop b2? Well, if we're committing to some sort of normal English with d3, maybe that's true. But the point that I'm trying to make is that white hasn't committed to the English. I mean, this is something other. This is something better. It's a King's Indian or something of that sort. You know, we have not committed to playing the English yet. We might get something better. Golko's plan is optimal. You know, we're punishing black here. This is conforming, you know. This is conforming. This is not conforming. This is like we've got more. We want more. We're going to refute black's setup with d4. So Portish played too routinely now. And a couple people play d3. This is also, it's okay, but it's routine, you know. You're not refuting bishop e6. You're like justifying it. So knight c3 is absolutely critical. This is fine, but it's not as good. Now h6. But black's position is very dubious. Now you blasted him with d4. Let's make sure, though. I mean, maybe e4 is okay. The temptation here is to blast him. He does have this. He stopped knight g5, which is key. So maybe he can get away with this. But there's no substitute for calculation. Knight d2, d5, right? Possibly even bishop f5. Yeah, shit. So he who hesitates has lost. We hesitated. We hesitated. So now knight c3. Now maybe you're threatening d4. Right? So black should probably play c6. I mean, I've had games like this. You've got these levers with like c5, but it sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. You have to calculate. Now, maybe this isn't so bad for black, like takes. Or, you know, you have to watch d5 because that also may not be so great. It's not clear the c5 lever is even good, so maybe you're better off playing this. But if he has e4, you know, in d5, black is out of the woods and has a decent position. So that's the point. He needs to play c6. He plays this, and now you have d4, and this transposes to the Portish game. I'm with Lajos. He you know, he clearly knows a little bit about chess. So d4 is the acid test. The most important thing in this move would be, you know, answering, well, what happens if the e4? The guy played like a weird move here, bishop g4, and somehow managed to draw against Portish. Some guy I've never heard of. Anikam Basha. That's really weird. I mean, okay, it's a move, bishop g4. It makes some sense, but white is clearly better with space. But the question would be like e4. Now what happens? Is Portish playing d5 now? Do you think sacrificing a piece temporarily, or is he? We talked about this with Sun Prism again. You know, I don't know if Sun Prism he's hiding or what, but he confessed to playing routinely the last game we analyzed. Here again, we're at risk of playing routinely, and Portish will do anything but play routinely. d4, e4. Now this move also needs to be considered. This is bad. We're just like winning. But okay, this is unclear, right? But white seems better to me. Probably this would what Lajos would have done. He would have just played knight d2, attack d4. Black takes. We take on e4. Maybe he trades knights or something. Whatever. We're just better. White's just better. White has a stronger center with c4. Knight's hanging. Has to go back, and white has a clear advantage. The other question would be d5. But this is why knight c3 was important, I thought. We don't do d4 till we play knight c3, and now we have extra pressure on e4. So when we take on d5, this is a goner now. Black has nothing better than to like take back. And I guess actually we have to be a little bit careful here. Because this could get weird. This can get a little bit weird, although it's probably okay. But let's say like f5. I'm kind of scared. Are we losing a piece? Jeez, we're like losing. Okay. So we have to be careful. All right, so Sun Prism didn't want to commit to that. He plays d3, but I don't like d3. Why? The question is why? Just simply why? Why play d3 when you don't have to? Are you afraid of e4? Okay, well, okay, we need to talk about that. If e4, don't be afraid to play knight g1. Bishop e2, e4. This is out. This is out. But this isn't out. And this is actually looking pretty good. I think the e4 pawn it's a shit show. You know, the best black move black has here is bishop f5, and his position is like clearly worse at best. I mean, at the very minimum, like bishop f5, f3 with advantage to white, I would say. So, Sun Prism, you're new to playing the English or whatever. Don't be afraid of this e4. But I don't like d3. It's very passive. You know, you need to punish him with d4. At least keep the option to do that. So my choice would be either d4 or bishop e2. But maybe this could, if we're gonna play d4, we should do it now while the bishop's like guarding here. I don't know. You know, you could also even go here. But again, you know, here you're like looking for this type of stuff. Now d5. There's less pressure on e4. Okay, whatever. He plays a routine move, d3. It's not great, but it's still like white's equal. Okay. Yes, rook b1 and stuff is a more ambitious way to play the English. Bishop e7, bishop e2, and now black normally plays queen d7, followed by castle's king side, and we've got a Simon Williams, Lawrence Trent video or something. Lawrence Trent recommended this setup with like f5. Black has played h6 here, which is kind of weird. Smells like something's burning. Okay. Queen d7, castle's queenside, never a good idea in the Sicilian. But you will see people play h5, h4. That's not an option here. Maybe g5. All of it's rather trashy. I think black should just castle, play queen d7. So he does knight h7. This is a really weird move. Very much like against fundamentals. I played the English all my life. So Sun Prism yesterday had a game against me which had a little bit of similarity in a way, or was it? Yeah. Was it Simul? I don't remember. Yesterday? Knight h7 makes me want to put your knight on d5. That's got to be a good move. At the very least, you get one of his bishops. Pick a bishop, any bishop. I don't even care. I'll take the bad one, you know, because long term your dark squares are going to be good. Knight h7, terrible move. You don't play knight d5, you played e3. Well, this is probably not a bad move either. What's our plan? to go here. I'm sorry, here. Queen d7. And now black's threatening bishop h3, trading pieces, although it is his good bishop. But you have to deal with this. So what's the choice now? We could play d4. Black will probably capture. You can take back either way. Taking back with the knight is interesting because you keep a clamp on d5. I'm just going to make sure my house isn't burning down, guys. Just hold on for a second. There's a little bit of a smoke smell. Oddly enough, my apartment actually smells a little bit like flowers. So it's not coming from there. Maybe something coming in from outside. My air conditioner is turned off. So I don't understand why I have a smoke smell. That's weird. All right. But anyway, d4 is your idea, I thought. Now you played this bishop h3 stop, which is a normal idea. But now you can't castle in a traditional way, so this is going to be a little inconvenient. Maybe you have to do a elephant walk here with king f1, king h2. But don't rule out castling queenside. Black plays a6. You play d4 in the center. He trades. And now you have to decide which way to take. Pawn takes does look strong. Knight takes is also not bad. My point being maybe to take with the queen. We have a double attack. And he'll probably have to play bishop f6. But in all lines, like, you're clearly better. So e takes d4. I mean, taking back with the pawn is nice, but isn't taking back with the knight good as well? I mean, anytime you make the capture with a choice between a pawn or a piece, it's always safer to take back with a piece, because pawn moves create weaknesses in your position. By definition, the choice is always safer with the piece, almost always, like 99% of the time. This is safer recapture. What can black do? I mean, you're threatening knight takes c6. You're threatening to smash his pawns with knight takes c6. You have control of d5. He has to take. And then you don't take back with the pawn. You take with the queen. So he has to play bishop f6 and then queen d2 or queen d3. And now, how does he solve this? I mean, this is horrible for black. You're threatening knight d5. You have bishop takes b7. You can castle either way. It's a total disaster for him. So I think that's much simpler. See what the computer says. Yeah, it prefers the knight takes, but only very slightly. Take, bishop f6, queen d2, rook b8. You know, and surprisingly, in this line, the engine thinks this is very Steinitz-like, like nice knight on h7. The engine says this is 0.7 better for white. Wow. Because I would be like +1 type evaluation here. I would have thought white's advantage was even bigger. What do I know? All right. So anyway, you took back with the pawn. It's important that black doesn't have this. Because if black has this move, his position might be okay. But that looks like particularly dangerous. In fact, I mean, you almost have this. Takes and pawn takes d5. I mean, you're going to get a piece back in all variations. So this is clearly better for white. you have a lot of options. So d5's not on, right? I mean, if he could play d5, he would be okay. There's a lot of reasons why d5 is a problem. So he plays bishop f5. And now you have that dynamic with the Alekhine defense. This is an Alekhine defense now, right? Petrov, Alekhine, French exchange. It's a symmetrical pawn structure where, you know, he who plays d5 probably has the edge. But it's probably going to depend on some factors like how many pieces are on the board, how well coordinated we are, etc. So Sun Prism here decided to you know, have a seance with Viktor Korchnoi and play g4. Wasn't Korchnoi the one who like did like a chess seance or something? Now we could have a seance and try to channel Korchnoi. But g4 again, unfortunately not the most flexible move. The problem is, okay, what do we do after bishop g6? So, I mean, you wanted a castle, and therefore you played g4. Okay, so you play g4, weakening your kingside slightly to enable yourself to castle kingside fine. But I mean, I think that white has other options here. Obviously, you know, a huge option is d5. Black is knight b4. This is going to be his main. You know, Asterbait was playing a3 here for sure. a3 is a move. It's a little slow. Knight d5 is a move. It stops knight b4. You're on his bishop. And it sort of indirectly defends h3 by putting pressure on this guy. Black would probably respond with knight f6. If we take the bishop, he can take back with the queen or the knight, I guess. Yeah, knight d5, I think, an option. So you played this, which is not a routine move, so I'll give you credit for that. Unfortunately, we don't have knight h4, so we can't trap his bishop. But I'm also looking at this theme from yesterday's game with, guess who? Sun Prism. But you have weakened your dark square slightly. You are now playing the Grob, not the English. So this needs to be considered. There are weaknesses here. Damashai, a new chatter says castles. Yeah, obviously castles is a major move, and that's why he played g4. He played g4 to take the pressure off h3 and castle, but this is not without some risk because black isn't committed to castling kingside. He might try like some h5. There's going to be some serious questions here. What do we do after h5? You know, I don't really like this moment. We have stuff. But I mean, there's pressure on g4. You know, I don't really feel comfortable with this whole plan. I'm not a big fan of g4. But that doesn't make it easy. I think I would have played this. Flexibility is the word of the day, you know, as far as I'm concerned. In this game, there's a lot of options here. Now you have knight e3. It's probably a better way of getting his bishop off this diagonal without weakening your kingside with g4. This is a radical way to castle. Plays bishop g6, you castle. Now he should have played h5. What does he do instead? He castles. Well, that's fine, but it doesn't really pose you as much immediate danger as, say, h5. Horse bingo. I'll think about it. But usually we reserve analysis for people who subscribe to the stream. Castles for Twitch subscribers. You're welcome to contribute to our discussion. Castles is, I guess, linked to f5. The guy will play f5. He plays f5 instead. which is also dangerous. Now you played rook e1, but this move is also counterintuitive. Being that rook, might be pivotal in like protecting f2, if this guy is intending to play f5, I don't like g4. So now we have to live with it. But what else can we do now? I mean, this has to be counted, right? There and knight d4. But again, here, threatening here, threatening here, here. Maybe this isn't a big deal, but it looks very disruptive. That's very uncomfortable. So if d5, knight b4, now you have to play knight e1. But his knight is about to get trapped, so he probably has to play a5. If you play a3, he plays knight a6. You can play f4, but then he plays f5, I guess. And it's a complicated position, very complicated position. This move, yeah, not my first choice. I would prefer develop connect your rooks. Queen d2 eyes this. Perhaps you were concerned about g5. But if he puts the knight on g5, there's all sorts of complications now. Maybe even knight h2 and blast him with f4. So I don't like rook e1. I think the engine likes knight d5 there, which is obvious. Huge weak point in black's position. Yeah, bishop g5 is possible too. So that's a good suggestion. Okay, queen d2, bishop g5, but I'm taking it. And what's he gonna do? He's gonna have to take with the pawn. I mean, this is ugly. Black is clearly worse. I mean, he has no threats, and he's like got his knight on h7. I mean, it's not good. So rook e1 is not good. f5, and now this is under threat. You've got knight d5. Okay, attacking this. In this type of setup, oftentimes black will play like bishop d8. He probably played too quickly here, f5. He didn't have to play f5 right away. I mean, it's a good plan, but it should be prepared. So he should have played this first. This guy can fall back to d8. That's actually a standard idea in these sort of closed Sicilians with bishop e7. I mean, obviously this whole diagonal, but get the rook in the game first. Might even be able to play knight d8, knight e6. Although if he does play knight d8, you'll probably play d5. But I like white. But a lot of inaccuracies. Okay, f5, too dangerous. Knight d5. And now he plays f to h4. That's fine, but can he take on g4, or is he going to lose a piece? Okay, so Sun Prism takes on e7 with check, you take back, and now you take back on g4. Can he take the pawn? And is there any sort of tactic for black? You're threatening knight h4 type stuff, defending the g4 pawn. So we can see Stockfish finds a good move for black here, but it's not so easy. It finds, it suggests the best move, rook f4, attacking g4, forcing white to play this, and again, we're going to see pressure here. Probably rook f8, f3, and it's a game. I don't love the fact that we played g4, but white is probably fine if he defends carefully. And at the end of the day, the dark squares are for white, better. But black instead played knight c6 now. Well, a logical move defending, the knight that was hanging. But why, for example, not like rook e8, Maybe he was concerned you would have d5, but I mean, he's threatening to take this pawn here. It's not like you could just ignore it and go there and drop this pawn. So you have to take the time, I guess, knight h4. Because knight doesn't have a good place to go. Its only good place to go is c6, so that's why he plays knight c6 right away. And now you missed knight h4, which is apparently very strong. William is a rather versatile name. Well, that's an interesting idea. I mean, I'm lecturing about flexibility in this game, you know. But it's important in everything. It's not just chess, poker. It's important in life. How can you be flexible? Maintaining flexibility is like one of the most important things in life. Being as flexible. In everything you do, you want to be as flexible as possible, right? Because why not? It's a no-brainer. Flexibility is always good. I mean, when is it not good to be flexible? Um, so I don't know why this move is. I don't know why knight c6 is a double question mark blunder necessarily. But white plays d5, which is. Notice, I just want to mention the fact that we no longer have knight e1 to defend against knight b4, knight d3, knight c2. Just a passing note about that. The guy played knight e5 and just like lost the central pawn, which is ridiculous. But here, notice g7 is protected. Black's threatening this and this. So how do you process this? I mean, how do we defend against both of those threats? It's not looking good. Plus, g4 is hanging. Even if you could defend both of the threats somehow, let's say knight d4 with this. Now knight d3. You're going to have to sacrifice something. I don't know what. The exchange, rook e2. This is a problem because of queen takes g4. It's just giving me a headache, man. Like, there's too much stuff hanging. I guess you have this weakness, this weakness, this weakness. So he misses knight b4. It's a pretty obvious move, and I don't know how you don't see that. Knight d4 probably our best try, but apparently not. There's a better move for white. There is a better move for white. Rook e6, blocking the blocker here. That's the best move. And after that, white's still better. Okay. Anyways, he doesn't find it. He blunders this. This is a clear pawn. Not just any pawn, but a central pawn. So after bishop takes e5, now you've got that piece to defend your king side. And black is just left with zero compensation for being a pawn down. So what we see here is a game where black basically played a rapid game like it was 3-0 and not that well. But you were sloppy too. Rook a e8. Now, I mean, f4 is on the table. Maybe not the safest move. Queen d4 is better, I guess. Knight f6. Yeah. We don't love giving up the bishop, so preference here is for f3. It's only temporary, you know. f3. Keep your darks for bishop. It's way stronger than a knight. You were impatient. Bishop takes f6. Another routine move. Your biggest advantage here, other than the fact that you're up a pawn, is the fact that you have the bishop pair. Your unopposed darks for bishop. By playing bishop takes f6, you're giving like half of your advantage away. Instead of being like +2, you're like +1 now. Bishop takes f6, rook takes f6, rook e8, queen e8. And now black has control of the open file. So white's advantage just dropped to like half a pawn, 3/4 of a pawn. And now he's starting to penetrate here. When our safest move is unclear, maybe offering a trade of queens, so something like queen e3. Looks like a pretty good idea to me. You know what I mean? I actually don't mind connecting those pawns into like one chain so much. I don't think this would necessarily be bad for you. Queen e3 is kind of a good move. Rook d1 allowing you to penetrate, but you can defend what with queen d2? Queen e2? Oh, rook d2. I expected queen, but queen down, rook takes f2. Okay, he can't do that. So here, and now check, and your f2 is defended, so you could have played king h2. Your f2 is defended twice, but you've allowed him too much counterplay. You know, this guy was dead to rights. Bishop f1, and that's suboptimal. So you allow this dude all sorts of counterplay, and at this point he has like almost enough compensation. And I don't know what I would do if I was black. Something like to blockade the queen side. I mean, your biggest threat here is to play c5, d6, bye bye. But it's kind of hard to stop that, you know. So the computer wants to play like b6, but I mean, okay, it's a stopgap. If b6, b4, does it really change anything? I mean, you're still going to do c5, d6. You're still clearly better. But instead he does that. Why? Why did he do that? I mean, his queen is active. He takes the pressure off. And now you grab the open file. But again, c5 is very strong. More to the point. This is not promoting that pawn. It's just grabbing the file. Also, not a bad move, really. Queen d7, bishop g2, you reset. Now he plays b6, rook e3, you're slowly improving. Okay, he's setting up a dark square blockade. I am a little concerned about that. Can we trade rooks with like rook f3? I don't like his control of f4 here. He's starting to come in there. So if you exchange rooks, I think we're going to try to grind him down with an extra pawn here. I think we have good chances. But this move is a little bit mental. Like, are you going to mate him with g5? Or are you going to just give him time to emphasize his dark square control here? Black plays this very stupidly now. I think he has rook f4, maybe even queen f4, trying to hold on, some endgame or something. But why do this? This is sort of random. Queen a3. It's a very bad move. The queen is decentralized. At the very least, you do what you did, which is queen d2. You could have gone for g5, but I guess it's a little risky. Yeah. So rook g3 was bad. You reset, plays queen d6, you play g5. This was like, bro, you got a lot of time here, you know. Just play rook f3. I mean, you're up a pawn. You have a chance to trade rooks. What are you doing? Yeah, he might hang on for a draw. Let us say rook takes f3, bishop takes f3, queen e5. But again, you know, b4, and I think you have very serious chances of winning with the extra pawn. Boom, boom, boom. Game over. What are you doing? You're trying to checkmate him, but it's not realistic. H takes g5, queen takes g5. This is a rock. Queen e7. White's playing too fast. Queen d2. Queen e5c. The dark squares. He almost has compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Lost pawn, let's call it. Queen d6. And then the dark square blockade. So are you winning? Not so easy. You know? Again, you made a good move here. Finally, a move that exchanges pieces in a pawn up position, bishop e4. I gotta say, this is like probably your best move of the game. Seriously. Black should consider trying to avoid the exchange with like bishop f7, but I don't know if that's realistic or not. Or maybe he just exchanges on, he should exchange at least on his terms. So I think this is an important position. Bishop e4 is a good idea in principle, but what if black plays, let's say, optimally here? It's the right idea, but is it the right moment for this? What is his best move? Not taking on e4. He has queen f4. Queen f4. Let's say. Bishop takes g6, rook takes g6, check. This looks scary. What do you do after queen f4? Yeah, you gotta run with king f1. Super scary. You can run away. It's a game. You're still a pawn up, but it's not so easy. Bishop takes e4 looks very inaccurate. You know, he checks and now you just trade pieces. Of course. Now you're much safer. Although it's not a guaranteed win. One pawn up in a queening game, very hard win. He blundered now. He should trade queens and take his chances, but he plays this. Missing queen e8. King h7 takes, 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 takes. Your pawns are a little extended, but we have time to get up here, here. You have waiting moves like a3. Let's see. King g2, king f5, king f3. Why king g3? Why king g3? You're gonna like let him into e4? Are you sure that's a good idea? The fuck just happened? Okay, I got other programs running. Sorry. Let me turn those off. It's slowing down my machine here. Flow of water. No, we're not taking challenges from people. This is an analysis stream. So why not king f3? Stopping him from coming in there. This seems to me like a no-brainer. It's possible that your move is okay, but I mean, it seems like a risk that you don't need to take, allowing king e4. What if he gets down here and eats your a pawn before you have time? Say king e4, king g4. You have this, possibly, very quickly. But he has other moves. Like, he might be able to try something like a4, for example. I mean, it's very complicated, this king and pawning game. But it seems like this is way safer. The plan is straightforward. We go toward the center, we play a3, b4, slowly advance and try to put black into zugzwang. You played king g3 and he plays g5. Well, he has the other tries. I mean, maybe a4 right away. What is happening here after a4 right away? I'm scared. I'm scared. Maybe you have to just ignore it. Because if you take... Yeah, maybe you have a trick, actually. You take, he goes here. Oh, no, you don't have it in time. Look, because he eats this. Oh, my God. So if he plays a4, you have to play king f3. You have time to do that. So he needs to go here first. And I don't know what's going on. Because he has a4 ideas. He has a4 and b5, like a combo of threats. So you have king g4, etc., with your own eventual pass pawn on the king side. I think this is just a no-brainer. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to prefer king g3 to king f3 here. You're only giving him a huge opportunity to play king e4. Let's see what the engine says. So the engine says you're winning with king f3, even king h3. You're so winning you could even play king h3. No, it's interesting though. If you play king f1, it's not winning anymore. If you play f3, it's not winning. So I'm surprised king h3 is winning, to be honest. But apparently king g3 is not enough of a mistake to throw away the win here. No doubt I would play king f3. You play king g3, so if I'm black, I'm definitely playing king e4. And now you have only one winning move. But these engines are misleading. You know, going by engine evaluation is very misleading, especially for beginners. Your only winning move is king g4. You play like f3 or something, or a3, even f4, which looks like a natural move. You're not winning anymore. Only king g4 wins. So, inaccurate move. Now black plays g5. That's a mistake. So he has to try king e4. And if you play king g4, I was taking a4, ba4, king d4, king f5, king c4. This is close. Look how close this is. King e6. That's maybe your only winning move for sure. So cutting it a little too close here. King g3. g5 is a mistake. And now again, always use the king. You know, again, I like king f3. I guess you're afraid of this. But I mean, there you could just simply go back and then play f3 and win again. Like a straightforward sort of position where it's like just 4 against 3 on the queen side. I mean, the point is you don't have to go here necessarily, although king e5. Apparently even this is winning. I wasn't sure. Let's say like b5. You have a4. So eventually the queenside majority will win. So he plays g5, big mistake, f3 here, king g4. Black offers a draw. I love this. He played king f6 and offered a draw. Well, okay, that's pretty funny. Now you're just going to play f4, right, and trade the pawns. And this is a win. Good. Good. And now, okay, we need to think. I'm sure that there's a lot of moves that win here, but I guess d6 is fine. No, it's not stalemate. So if you trade pawns, that's funny. If you trade pawns, it's a draw. Wait, what? You're still winning on this. You could get a diagonal opposition. Takes, takes. Oh, you go back and you win this guy. Okay, you can still win by going back and getting that guy. All right. It's funny. Anyway, good game. Okay, so we got a couple other positions I want to show you guys. What's up, Bringawi? Small crew here today. So something weird happened. I don't want to show that. I thought I had the whole game in here, but it doesn't matter. Okay, we don't need to see the whole game. This is the important thing. Um, this is a rooking game that one of my students had in an over-the-board game recently, where he was white. White is going forward, obviously. White has two connected pass pawns, supported by the king, and his rook is behind the enemy pass pawn on the queen side, and that's in turn defended by the enemy rook. Black's king is off on the side of the board with the king being on h4. White had just played king f5, king e5, and was planning on advancing now with his f pawn. But the really surprising thing about this position, I think it was this position, right? I hope this is the right position. Yeah. White has a million possible moves in this position. And you would think like anything is winning. And it's really interesting because there's only two winning moves for white in this rooking game. Earlier, white had played king e5 when they could have played king f5, and I think king on f5 is actually better because you would shoulder, like you're boxing out. It's like basketball, like the defensive strategy of boxing out in basketball, where you're keeping the opponent away. King f5 keeps the black king away. It's called shouldering. So instead, white drove the king immediately into the center, which means that this black king can get closer to the action with king g4, which is more advantageous. So I just thought this is a really interesting and dramatic example of a position where it's way closer than it looks. And white actually allowed black to achieve a drawn position now in the game. White played the most, what I would call, natural move here, f5, advancing his pawn, having two connected pass pawns. His king is sheltered. It looks like white's winning. Pawn is only 3 squares away from promotion. And shockingly, it's a draw now with best play after f5. I thought it's just such an amazing example. It looks like the type of position where you can do anything and you're winning with those pawns. But the problem is black has counterplay. He has the swinging over here and threatening this with rook b5 check. That's another story, but it's possible that if he gets in rook b2, rook b5 check, white even could lose. So it's not the case where black doesn't have any counterplay. The best move for white here is like king f6. Well, the most valuable thing about, I guess, king f6, of course, is that it frees the e pawn. If I play king here, well, I guess f5. If I play rook here, then e5. And if rook check, now we just go e6. And the a pawn is hanging. So I think that black is lost. But really surprising, how close this is to a draw. That after f5, the position is actually drawn. Where did all my viewers go? Did you scare them away? I have no viewers. Nobody wants to learn chess. I don't understand why. I try to provide like quality content. But anyway, f5 is a draw. Now we can check with the table base. Black plays king g5. So apparently this is not a draw because king f6 is winning. Rook check. Something like king g7. And then if you continue to try to check, we go back to g6 and we go f6. So it's a win anyway. So black can surprisingly save the game by playing king g5 with checks of this variety if you try to go up, plus the other side with rook b2. So like going back to the earlier position, if the king was on f5, white would totally be winning. Because this king doesn't have the ability to come back into the game with king g5 or king g4 at all. The best he could do is like king, if his king is on f5, white's king is on f5, the best that black can do is like king g3, which is really not that well placed. Imagine if your king is on g3 and my king is on f5, white could even go like king g5, and there's nothing that black can do. So this is shocking. You know, only king f5 and king f6 are winning here. It's pretty crazy. So he played f5, black played king g5, and then I think white played f6, and black misses a draw now. Surprisingly here, okay, rook f2. If king e6 check, king g6, threatening rook takes f6, and if e5, this is really crazy, but it's a draw. If this pawn is like closer to the center, I guess white is like winning, but now we have enough distance. Now we have enough distance for black to draw with a sequence of checks. And the black king is close enough. So let's see. Amazingly, like white has no way to win here. It's incredible. By the way, like the biggest problem is this. This actually happened in the game. Just that black missed rook b6 check. Rook b6, rook takes b6, and I had a game like this where I actually lost. You know, where I had like two pawns and a rook. Not easy. But I guess this is a draw because white can keep everything protected. Still not so easy to draw even. So I thought that was really cool. Our final game for the stream is a submission from Move 11. This is a we're gonna see this from black side. So this is Bologan. Thanks for staying on topic, Rangawi. Bologan, King's Indian slash. It's actually a Two Knights Tango. This is an older game, right? I don't know when this was played. We'll see. So d4, knight f6, c4, knight c6. I'll be right back. Don't anybody go anywhere. I needed to get a drink. Sorry. Don't anybody go anywhere. Knight f3. By the way, like, what's white's best move here? Does anyone know? Without showing the opening explorer. White's actual best move in this position. I lost against Erdos Victor once. I don't think white's best move is necessarily knight f3. I lost to Erdos in a rapid game really years ago, where he played knight c3, e5, d5, knight e7 and h4. This is a very strong line for white, preempting knight g6 and g6. So after knight c6, probably knight c3 is best. Threatening e4. And I'm not sure what I would do now. Today, if it happened again today, well, I mean, there is this line, right? E5, D5, knight E7, H4, knight G8. I think that's what we're supposed to do. Very strange. Anyways, this is off the subject, but knight F3, E6 is a different story. Okay, so basically, let's say we got this move order by, let's say we got this position by a different move order. You know, we don't have to justify this move order. We just have to justify, say, this move order. D4, knight f6, C4, E6. The point is that after knight f3, knight C6 is a reasonable move. We're not trying to justify the two knights tango necessarily, but you do have to justify this position. What can white do? So, okay, knight f3, E6. And now Sadler plays the move a3. I've played knight c3. It allows a Nimzo, Taimanov, I forget what they call it, Taimanov variation. A3, played by my friend Igor Foigl. It's really not that great, but it's playable. It's fine. And then G3, of course. And this would oftentimes transpose to two different things. Maybe a Bogo, or maybe a kind of Catalan with D5. But white plays instead A3. Now, this was Bologan's discovery years ago, that black could play essentially a King's Indian. This is not new, but Move 11 just discovered it, and he shared this game with me. I've known this for a long time. But I mean, when you think about it, honestly, I mean, D5 deserves to be considered here, no? I have another question, going back to another discussion. So years ago, I remember referencing this move, and we had this discussion on my stream about like what the best way to play against A3 was. Soroche has been a moderator for 10 years. Check this out, guys. 10 years of moderation. Yeah, I think you're eligible for Soroche, you're eligible for your pension now, for a moderator pension. Move 11 has been a subscriber for 10 years, I believe. And he's the one who submitted this game. But I don't care how many viewers we have. The important thing is that we have great viewers like Soroche and Move 11 who stay with us no matter through everything. I'm still doing this, even if I don't have any viewers. I don't care. You know, you guys don't want to learn how to play chess. That's fine with me. But my discussion with this A3 position was, anyway, Yaron, thanks for watching for 10 years. Moderator or not, putting up with me for 10 years. I always felt like we should be dynamic and play C5 to play a kind of improved Blumenfeld or Benoni. But like Move 11 pointed out how Roman Gingiashvili said he likes D5 there. You know, I think that's also just as much a question. You know, this move not very useful for white. Mr. Longosh, you still remember the first streams? You called me Mr. Longosh. I'm glad you're still with us. So anyway, that's the discussion. Is it better to play for d6 or d5. Now, here black plays d6, but another interesting idea where I'm not really sure about move order. It's possible to play g6. Maybe g6 is even the best. Because that way we keep white guessing as to whether we intend to play d5 or d6. Speaking of flexibility, if d5, we go here, like Tony Miles style. By the way, Miles did play the Two Knights Tango, as did a lot of people over the years. The idea is to play knight e7. So I think the jury is out on this particular moment. Like, should black play d6 or g6? d6, with d6 we don't commit to g6. With g6 we don't commit to d6. Very, very deep. Very deep. We're committing to something, you know? With this we commit to fianchettoing. With this we don't necessarily fianchetto. Maybe we'll play e5 or something. So it's a different animal. But knight c3, and now g6. And the point is, yeah, black is like kind of a tempo down in the King's Indian, but this is the tempo. And I really can't remember where I first saw this. No, I really don't recall, but maybe it was like a New in Chess article or something. But the more I've seen these positions, the bottom line is that a3 is just really not very useful. And one thing that I've talked about in my stream, wow. Start paying for bots. They still have bots. It looks like they've all been cleaned out, Lou Barlow's. I had the feeling like maybe chess.com bought all the bots. There's no bots left or something like that. I feel like the bot situation, yeah, maybe the bots have been cleaned out. But no, seriously, yeah, I mean, I'm playing poker for money now. I just stream for, for fun, basically. A3. By the way, like yesterday was your birthday. Well, yesterday was Lou Barlow's birthday. He's 60, you know. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. Maybe it was like 2 days ago. Oddly enough. Maybe it was like Tuesday. Definitely like Lou Barlow's 60th birthday this week, though. G6. My argument that I made in a lot of streams is that anytime white plays a3, g6 is always a good setup. And anytime black plays a6, g3 is always a good setup. I mean, it's a funny rule that can be applied like almost across the board in all kinds of openings. For example, if we play e4, not to mention that like a3, g6 is a good move, because obviously after b4, bishop g7, white has a problem. But, here we are. It's like move 4, whatever. g6 already becomes a good move. But what use is this a3 on the queen side for white? It weakens this square. So, e4, classical King's Indian with the move a3 in, right? Bishop g7. Now, let's say white plays h3. But let's say white doesn't play h3. Let's say white plays the absolute, like, standard classical setup. Bishop e2, black castles, white castles, and then black plays e5. So we have something like even if black doesn't try something fancy like knight d4, let's just go to knight e7. The bottom line is, what does this a3 do? I mean, very little positive for white. It could weaken this square. Like b3 can be weak in some cases. Maybe this variation isn't the best example. I mean, what value does it have? Like, white plays b4 and he can lift his rook to a2. Maybe b4 and rook a2 is the only benefit of a3. Very, very little value. And some negative value in terms of, like, if the b3 square becomes like a weakness or something. Probably like knight e7 isn't gonna point it out, but if I go here, here, and here, we could see like b3, or here and here and here. You can see b3 becoming a weakness. But anyways, a3 just not a very constructive move. h3 now by Sadler, and black should be careful not to commit too early. So another good example in terms of black here remaining flexible. I mean, I haven't looked at this with the engine lately, but I mean, you probably want to consider all sorts of options, even like queen e7. Queen e7 could give us some kind of like e5, d5, knight d4 type ideas. Maybe. Let's see. See if there's any games with queen e7. No. Bishop g5 though? I mean, that's hardly a refutation. I just play h6, you have to go away. This will actually protect your king against my queen on the line though. So now if e5, d5, knight d4, knight d4, ed4, bishop takes d4, we have knight takes e4. But you have queen takes d4. Refuting my position because my bishop on g7 is not protected. I had a similar game yesterday. But in terms of like flexibility, which is the theme of today, one thing I'm thinking of though, if this g4 is going to be a realistic thing, maybe we don't want to commit to castling too early for black. Notice there's one game where black played h6. Not a ridiculous move, by the way. Cutting out bishop g5, not committing to castling one way or the other. Maybe strengthening our chances of playing e5. This is an interesting move. h6 is reasonable, in my opinion. Also, if we play something like e5, let's see what he does here, this guy. He played, now this I don't like. I don't really like b6. b6 is a little extreme for me. But say you go here, and white takes. I mean, how bad is this? d5, queen takes d8, check. Knight takes. Castles queen side. Knight e6. And white is slightly better according to the engine. But anyway, okay, I'm making arguments about flexibility. Bologan castles, and by the way, the center isn't fixed. Because the center isn't fixed, this diagonal is open. So notice here a very interesting fact. This position was played 74 times at the master level. How many times did masters play g4? Zero. If the center was closed, like if e5, d5 is in, then you're going to get people going nuts on you with g4 and starting to rip you a new one on the king's side. The other thing is that h3 necessarily makes h4 kind of awkward. Does it make sense to play h3 and then h4? Well, not really, right? I'm not saying it's not plausible, but one of the things that we could do, like for example, g4 is like d5. What if we're like, oh no, I didn't mean to play e5, I'm going to play d5. So we have options to go both ways with that. So anyway, really nice move by Bologan here, which is, I guess, the first game where this was played. Though honestly, years ago, he lives in Seattle. The guy, Orlov. What the hell is his first name? I can't. I'm spacing on his first name. International Master Orlov. The hell is his first name? Anyway, I forgot his first name, but anyway, he did the Two Knights Tango. He wrote a book with Sarawan for Inside Chess about Knight F6, Knight C6 opening. I mean, maybe he had played games like this, but I'm not sure his normal setup included like G6. So we see in the database, Bologan, who's a King's Indian expert, plays against Sadler this game from '99 that we're seeing now. Now, are there other Bologan games here? Nevednichi 2010, those are new. You know, I'm actually kind of surprised that there's only the one game by Bologan here. We got a follow from Man Ibrik, or Manny Urik. Sorry. Nice to see Lou Barlow's. No, not to be confused with the actual Lou Barlow, but Lou Barlow's. I'm not sure if actual Lou Barlow plays chess or not. He might. So bishop e3, black to move. This is a huge move. Rook e8. Very important. Same idea as queen e7. By the way, that's possible here, but better, because with rook e8 now, we've got this indirect action against the king and the bishop on e3 along the file. Best move. Now bishop d3. But again, I ask you, what value does the move a3 have for white? Not too much. And now Bologan here, I completely like either never saw this game or didn't go this far, but I didn't realize he played 97 now. This is pretty extreme. I would wonder, honestly, if black has a waiting move here. There's one particular waiting move that might be useful. A6. It might in turn weaken black's queen side. But I'm thinking like, okay, b4 probably helps us more than hurts us. A6 never really weakens us too much. The computer doesn't hate it, but it likes Bologan's move best. I mean, this game was played in '99 when like Fritz 10 was like the best computer in the shop. Clearly, there's e5. This has been played consequently by a bunch of people. But Bologan's move more like a hippo. We could actually transpose to a hippo. 97, 97, b6, bishop b7. Like a hippo in reverse. it's a hippo backing up. Like beep, beep, beep. It's reverse hippo. 97. This is pretty extreme. But again, a3. So Sadler now with a really surprising move. Because g4 is overrated. b4 is overrated. He doesn't really know where to put his queen. We've strengthened our control of d4. Sadler backs up now with bishop e2. Would Yasser Seirawan play bishop c2 here? So here's a game from 2009. Leaving c4 completely unprotected. Avatik Gregorian against the German Grandmaster Daniel Haustrath. c4 does look peculiarly unprotected. The Achilles heel of white's position. So anyway, Sadler backs up with bishop e2. Black now plays e5. There's some crazy player here played f5. I'm gonna guess this wasn't Vladislav Nevednichi. Notice Nevednichi playing it against Gavrilov in 2010, but not a coincidence that Nevednichi and Bologan are, of course, old friends and countrymen. So bishop e2 Well, actually, Bologan is from Moldova, and Nevednichi is from like Moldavia, so they're close. Not exactly countrymen. Nevednichi actually was in the Soviet armed forces because Moldavia was part of the Soviet Union. Anyway, complicated stuff, but they know each other very well, so. Bishop e2, Bologan younger. I played Nevednichi in the World Senior a couple years ago. Very solid player. He would never play f5. Knight d7, bishop e2. This is a crazy move by black. f5, very risky. And the Ukrainian Moisenko killed this guy with d5. But I don't like the look of these light squares. That doesn't look right. So anyway, knight d7, e5. This is the plan, going for control of d4. And so Sadler is aware of d4, right? Here. And so now the point. Someone here decided to play knight e7. Oh, now I understand. It was Nevednichi's dad. That's what it is. It was Nevednichi's dad. Oh, okay. I should have paid more attention. So it's the old Nevednichi, not the Grandmaster. Yeah, so Nevednichi probably wouldn't even play this opening. This is his dad, who's like a weaker master. Anyways, interesting. Okay, so d5, knight d4. Now, how is this justified? Knight d4, pawn d4, bishop d4. Do we have enough pressure on the e4 pawn? Does black have enough compensation here? Well, here's the point. Check this out. b3 takes, queen takes, knight c5, attacking b3, as well as putting pressure on e4. So this is a brilliant idea. And Sadler, sadly, played rook d1. One gets the feeling that Bologan was still in his like home prep here, although maybe it could have been inspiration. Does black have enough compensation? Because we're looking for this. I had a similar game yesterday. This directly, a move that would definitely be supported by Prusukin or whatever his name is. I think we're missing our rook on the f file here. f5 doesn't seem right. Queen h4 can be answered by g3. Queen e7 maybe plausible. So this is the critical test. And so this position was played again in 2006 with a stronger player playing white who went on to win after bishop f1. I got to be honest with you guys. I am not too confident in white's position after bishop f1. I mean, the problem is you castle, you get bishop takes h3. So that's out. What about king f1? Oh, that was played. I'm sorry, he didn't play bishop f1, of course. Of course. No, bishop f1 is crazy. Yeah, king f1. White went on to win after king f1. But it looks like Vitali lost the thread here. He just played like a totally random move, knight b3. What the heck is knight b3? What kind of move is knight b3? That's crazy. That doesn't do anything. Thomas Reich versus Vitali. Is this like a correspondence game? Let us see. Nuremberg LGA Cup third. Well, that doesn't tell me if it's correspondence or over-the-board chess. I don't know. But knight b3 is a very peculiar move. Bishop f3 is actually best. Bishop f3 is actually best. Sadler's move is actually best. King f1. Knight b3 is actually best. Wow, what does that do? It doesn't do anything. Knight b3 was actually the best move. Oh my gosh. So this was a correspondence game then. Because they played perfect moves. They played h4. I mean, this has got to be correspondence. Maybe not. I mean, black did not find the best move now. He had to play queen h6. Didn't find it. Played queen f4, which is a huge mistake, allowing g3. Although back in 2006, who knows? Computers weren't as strong. Move 11. Is this a correspondence game? Do you know? You get the feeling it's a correspondence game. With like weak computers 20 years ago. Probably. So king f1. King f1 is playable. G3 is playable. It's a novelty, G3. Looks a little dangerous. So Sadler's move is actually good. Bologan plays f5. Sadler castles. And now Bologan here, he kind of gambles. This is what I like to refer to as the pivotal moment in all King's Indians, where you have to choose a path. It's like one of those choose your own path books or whatever that they used to have back in the 80s. You choose your own adventure. Here you choose your own adventure between open and closed. But I think this is a purely practical decision. While this might not be as strong as pawn takes pawn objectively, that doesn't mean it's easy for white to play. If he's a computer, fine. But Matthew Sadler, a very strong player. He's later become, of course, expert on AI and chess and has worked closely with AlphaZero and stuff. But even the best human player is not going to handle this position as well as like an engine. He plays king h2. And so white's up a pawn. I guess the point is like, who cares, right? I mean, this happened to me in the Benoni against Alexander Ivanov, where he sacks a pawn or plays for f5, f4 to get that bind, and you're up a pawn, but what good is it if it can't move forward? It's like the, you know, a one square position or whatever, like I like to call it. Everything is blocked by your own pawn on e4 for white. Well, it's kind of like a, also we could reference Hans Kmock and Pawn Power in Chess and reference it as a sort of like sealer sweeper sacrifice with f5, f4. Amazing move, knight back to d7. Resurfacing with knight e5. And by the way, like knight b5, if it comes to that, can be defended by queen d8. An important detail. Although probably not necessary. Like, let's say knight b5, knight e5, knight takes c7, knight takes f3 check takes. Well, there's no way to defend h3. I have bad news for you. I mean, you can, but like, let's say queen h4, knight e6, rook e6, pawn e6, bishop takes e6. Hello? You know, clearly white is in danger in all variations there. So knight d7 happened. Black now plays bishop g4. A very natural move, but I have had some horrible experiences with this sort of situation happening to me. Mr. Slow, wherever he is, hasn't been on stream in a long time. For example, had some games in the King's Indian against me, where you think you're smart playing bishop g4, but it only allows white to play f3. And this happens a move later. Knight e5, bishop takes c8. Oh no. Yeah. There's no time for bishop e6 check. And while it's nice to trade off your bad bishop, well, the good thing about the bishop on e2, or f3 as well, well, it is a good defender. So here's a typical position where a computer would probably be able to maybe even win with white. But in order to do that, white has to play literally perfect chess. And most humans, besides Magnus Carlsen, are they're incapable of doing that, unable of doing that. Bishop g4, knight e5, beautiful move by Bologan. Now f3, you got to go g3, and now we just recapture. But suddenly black's starting knight g4 check on the spot. Knight g4 wins on the spot. No? It's pretty damn close to winning on the spot. Maybe white could play king g1, queen h5, h4 or something. So this is probably necessary, rook h1, preventing knight g4. So here we go. Bologan is better. White has coordination problems. And the fact he's up a pawn doesn't mean a hill of beans. So a6, threatening to open a second front on the queen side. And now trading queens. Well, that's a pity. I'll tell you something here. I think that Bologan must have thought some time on this move. Because frankly, my dear, I am not inclined to trade queens in this position with black. Sadler posed him an interesting puzzle. Like, do you want to trade queens and get your pawn back and play for a win with no risk? Or do you want to continue to try to beat me down a pawn in a murky position? Because I gotta believe that Bologan has full compensation here. I'm not sure the computer would go for the exchange of queens in this position. I mean, he's handing him the pawn on a silver platter. But at the same time, I mean, damn, it's tempting not to trade queens. Yeah. Stockfish really on the fence about it. That's an incredibly difficult decision. In the end, Bologan decided to play on the safe side and trade queens. Wow. The engine doesn't want to take the pawn. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. What's wrong with taking the pawn? Well, he does. But this is incredible. No one could blame black if he played like queen f6 or something. But, like, check this out. Queen takes d2, rook takes d2, and black takes the pawn. The engine doesn't want to take this pawn. Well, any computer in 1999 is definitely going to take that pawn. AlphaZero might have different thoughts about it, but the following move is mind-boggling. h5. That is some serious crazy shit right there. I don't even want your pawn. It doesn't matter. That's what Stockfish says. I have more important things to do. I'm going to lock you down with like g5 on the king side. You have to give me another pawn with g4. If you try to protect your queenside pawn, then g5. Black is clearly better even though he's down a pawn. Unbelievable stuff. Really interesting stuff.
Anyway, Bologan, being a human grandmaster, played knight takes c4. I honestly missed this. My assumption that was that white had to play rook c2. But he has a trick. He has a trick with rook d4. The idea being knight takes b2, rook b1, and the knight is trapped. So that's probably why the computer, in fact, doesn't take the pawn. Maybe. Well, anyway, black is up a pawn. Knight e5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it's equal pawns now. We got our pawn back. We can't win a pawn. We got our pawn back. Rook c1. White has some comp here. Now h5. Now h4 allows knight g4 check. Knight b1. g5. And now so black has this crippling bind on the king's side. Knight d2 attacking f3. g4. So he gets this devastating lockdown. Sadler's going to want to trade off that knight with knight c4, no? I'm a little confused here. White to move in this position. And the knight on e5 is like just absolutely destroying you. My question is this. How can white not play knight c4? I guess he figures he can play it when he wants to play it. There's no immediate rush. So he plays h4, but that seems kind of also committal. Unnecessarily committal. h4, also eating time. King f7. King g1, okay, fine. Rook e7. King f1. And now black retreats the knight off of that square. e5. Now there's no more exchange. If knight c4, and Sadler never plays knight c4. It's surprising. Maybe at this point it's too late. We're threatening knight takes c6 check, but black will go rook e8. What I was wondering, like, what would happen now? I don't know, man. I'm really not sure about this play in this part of the game. I want to run the engine on starting with h4. My instinct is right. I mean, it may be that knight c4 is the best move. I don't like what Sadler did there, h4. He just allows black to kind of consolidate. Now he gets tied down to e4. Here, there's some rook in game problems. So he now has to stay there. Maybe white is holding this position, but it's very difficult to play. King e1, knight c5 back, b4, knight a4, rook c6. And then another interesting moment. Well, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, is Sadler trying to win? He's the higher rated player. Is he like trying to win with white? I mean, he's clearly worse, like this whole end game. I just have to assume he's been like, he would have been satisfied with the draw. He was like worse. Maybe he's trying to win in some weird way, but I mean, it seems like black was the one that's trying to win the whole time. Now he plays a5, takes knight c5, and we can try to surround the pawn on a5. Boom. a6, knight takes, no trades. So a really good practical game by Bologan.
King c2, and it still looks like white might be surviving. King f6, he's coming in here.
There's something almost Fischer-esque to this Bologan game. Bro. Now we're gonna take on a3, and it's game over. King b2. Can black make progress? I don't really like king a2. But white has like no moves. He has a rook problem. He can't move his rooks. Oh my god. Look, mom, no rooks. He can't move his rooks. He can't. He might be able to move his knight, though. Could he move his knight? Knight b1? I mean, there is like knight a4 check, knight b6, knight c4. So say like knight b1. You know, another issue is, for example, like rook a4. We could essentially like undermine the e4 pawn. So he goes here. Anyway, rook a4. Anyway, I would expect white to move the king again here. But he plays rook takes b5. Wow. The Bologan sacrificing a pawn in this endgame here. And not even recapturing it with knight takes e4. I mean, of course we have, for example, rook d4, which looks very strong. I don't really know what white's going to do against that. That looks kind of crushing. It's winning on the spot. I mean, rook d4 is winning on the spot. But he's winning here with everything. Rook takes b5 has to be a blunder. It didn't matter, though. He's lost anyway. Wow. It's an impressive game by black. He's winning anyway. But it's funny that he didn't play rook d4. b6, cb6. White is like paralyzed here. Wow. So d5 just goes. Now rook d4. Money in the bank, man. King and pawn endgame. No way. He cut it so close. b5 check. Bro. Oh my god. This was like way too dramatic. King c6. a4. King e2. a5. King f2. a6. King g2. a7. f2. a8. Queen check. Winning queen endgame for black, probably. Bologan cut this way too close. And either way, we're winning the queen endgame. Black went on to win. Although who knows how many moves it actually went. I wouldn't think the game would have ended right here. Yeah, that's a really, really fun game, Move 11. I enjoyed that. Thanks for sharing that. A lot to it beyond just the opening. The game itself was very, very interesting in terms of you know, playing for a win in a complex position, where to take risks, the whole f5 f4 decision. Objectively, can white play like a computer? Probably not. Oh, another thing, by the way, while we're on the subject of Move 11, I gotta go, but you asked me about this Bent Larsen book, and apparently, you know, it's all about like Grunfeld structures or whatever.
one of my other students has a copy of that book, but it's like the only one that's there was never. It was supposed to be like a series, but they never continued it. Catalan grid file structures. All right, guys. Anyway, time to go. It was nice knowing you. I'm gonna try to stream again tomorrow. We have so many followers. I don't know where to put you all. So good games. I'll see you for some blitz tomorrow around 2 p.m. Have a good one. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for following for 10 years or 6 months, whatever it may be. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.